let's get into it with the big decision makers in the AFC East, the New England Patriots. Putting this graphic up for you guys. Look, a lot of additions right there, man.
Oh,
just
of course.
a ton. I'll let you take it over
They
here.
spent a record amount of money. It was well over $200 million.
Yeah.
In 10 years, Bill Belichick had spent around $400-something million in 10 years of running the New England Patriots. This offseason, he flipped the script, completely did it. He revamped, reloaded, got everything good. And, he is just an absolute genius with his ability to maneuver certain roster moves. I'll mention one that I don't even know if it's up here. It's Kyle Van Noy, a guy that they lost, got a comp pick back for it. Got cut by the Dolphins because of that, and then they still have that comp pick that hasn't even been awarded to that they are going to draft with, and now they have Kyle Van Noy back on roster for a cheaper deal. Listen, the man plays chess while the rest of the people are playing checkers. Yeah. I love a lot of these acquisitions. Some of the offensive line moves kind of different, but that was just to move some money around, if you will. Trent Brown was a huge land getting him back. The Patriots are masters at running guys in their own system and somehow able to get them back all the time. Yeah. It is a staple piece in what Belichick does. Giannou and Hunter Henry, I would say, headline this class. What do you think about that going forward? Interesting, man. Really interesting.
I think there was a lot of talk about one of these guys was going to go to the Patriots, right? Like the Patriots have been trying to find the next good tight end in the mid rounds, which we know it's possible. Look, you look at all the star tight ends in the league, they all came from like the mid round of the NFL draft. Like all of the guys that go in the first round, we can talk about Njoku, we can talk about Evan Ingram, we can talk about all those guys.
Howard.
But I mean, the stars are Kelsey and Kittle, right? And they were mid-round picks, and the Patriots have swung and missed on tight ends a lot. Now they go through free agency. Look, we can talk about their drafting all the time. Like Patriots drafting hasn't always been great, and especially in recent years, they've missed a lot of draft classes, but they seem to always hit on these free agents. I think Belichick in general is a much better evaluator of talent in the NFL than he is from college, and makes sense. Like he's a genius. Like you said, checkers versus chess. Interesting to see both these guys on the same team. If you're a fantasy guy, you hate it because it seems like it kills the value for both of them.
It does.
And it's like they both might be top 10 tight ends in fantasy, but that doesn't mean anything unless you're like top 5. There's not a lot of difference between the 8th tight end in fantasy and the 17th tight end in fantasy. So I don't know the value there, but for the football team, I mean that's a huge get. Huge get for Cam Newton as the quarterback. Who was his favorite target for all those years in Carolina? Olsen. I mean, he loves throwing his tight end. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm excited about it. I think it was some good moves there.
I'm happy to see it for Cam Newton. Now, there is still some controversy going ahead. They are going to add another quarterback to this team. We don't know who, when, where, what it could be. We've heard rumors about Jimmy Garoppolo being contacted, trying to see if they could pull their way back onto that. So, I want to see Cam going forward. I'm a Cam Newton fan. I think he gets a lot of flack in areas that he shouldn't. In some areas, he's very well deserving of that, getting some flack, trying too much. He lost some games on his own doing. But last year, I think they were devoid of all talent on all levels. So let's see him actually get a true run at it. I think he's going to get that this year, assuming that quarterback stays where it's at.
Look, and we're going to spend a little bit longer on New England than a lot of these other teams just because, I mean, there's so much going on here. Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne, both wide receivers they bring in. Listen, some people are going to hate it. The Patriots still need a wide receiver one. Like, they don't have one. But I mean, you talk about grabbing some wide receiver 2s and 3s that were pretty good last year and just pretty all right wide receivers. Look, Nelson Aguilar, he's a roller coaster of a career so far, and he's at a high point right now, and he's getting paid.
Fans.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know what to think. Like, is he going to fall off the face of the earth? It's very, very possible. Kendrick Bourne, you're talking about a former undrafted guy who ended up finding a spot as the wide receiver 3 for the 49ers for a lot of years. I don't know what to expect from these guys, but it's a very Patriots move to avoid the top names go for the tier 2, tier 3 wide receivers in the class.
That's exactly what they did. I would look ahead to the NFL draft because I think so. A lot of people had it scripted. Kyle Pitts. You could not look at mock drafts and not see one that had Kyle Pitts going to the Patriots because of how big of a monster he is of an offensive weapon and Bill Belichick's love for drafting tight ends often. So I think with the acquisition of Hunter Henry and Giannou, I think it kills the Kyle Pitts thing.
Yeah.
Yes, he is so much of an offensive threat that there is a chance they could still take him and convert him to a wide receiver or something. But that's not what I want Pitts to do. I think Pitts could excel at that level playing like a Darren Waller, George Kittle-ish. Sure. So I think it's going to be wide receiver.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's either that or Trey Lance is my sneaky. I would love to see
Mac
Trey
Jones
Lance.
for me.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's very different. So I look at Cam Newton, and I think, like, if that's the type of quarterback they want, and maybe it's not, maybe Cam Newton's just their best option. That's how they felt for the past 2 years. Like, if you got to think, Cam Newton was signed very late in the process last year. It was like hey, you can be our starter if you sign for pennies, basically. And this year it was, not as late, but the Patriots are probably looking around saying there's no better options out there, and I kind of get where they're coming from with both of those. There's been a lot of reports of them calling for just about every quarterback out there. So I don't know what type of quarterback they're looking for, but I look at Kyle Pitts, or I look at Trey Lance as a guy, he could sit for a year. If he could sit for a year behind a Cam Newton and learn and kind of fix the mechanical issues and then go into a Patriots offense that is like built around a mobile quarterback, that would be crazy. That would be interesting. And I totally get the Mac Jones side of it too.
I get the Mac Jones thing, yeah.
Yeah, Mac Jones, I mean, I'll let you go for it, but I think we're thinking the same
I
thing.
just think when you look at the type of build that Belichick has shown that can work, I see similarities. I'm not reaching here and saying that Mac Jones is Brady. I see similarities in a pocket presence quarterback because the way that the NFL is changing nowadays, you just don't see that a lot. Mac Jones, I think, is unique in saying that he is one of the only true pocket passers out of this class. I think if there's a guy that could take him and succeed with him, it would be Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick.
Yeah. So let's finish up the conversation with the Patriots to go to draft needs. And listen, there's probably still going to be more. We're recording this on Thursday night. Not everybody is signed. A lot of guys haven't, but this is what we know so far. And this seems like the Patriots have done the majority of what they're going to do. They still need a wide receiver. They're going to have to get a quarterback of the future. One of the quarterbacks in this class is going to the Patriots. I would be shocked if they don't take a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. I'd be shocked. I really would. And maybe that's bold. Defensive tackle, they still need help with. They got rid of Adam Butler and didn't really replace him with anybody. Like Devon Gottschall is a guy from the Dolphins who's been pretty good for a lot of years, but like, I mean,
he's a good stuffer.
Yeah, he's not a difference maker, but he fits the scheme perfect though. Dolphins and Patriots have a very similar scheme though, defensively anyway. And then the one that's not on this graphic that I think I want to mention is offensive line. They made a lot of moves with offensive line, and that's why we didn't put it up there. But they also made a lot of trades. Like they traded Marcus Cannon. They traded a Joe Thuney. And
two of their former
they didn't trade, but they let go of Joe Thuney. But they traded Marcus Cannon, and you're absolutely right. Yeah. So I mean, I think O-line should probably be somewhere. They're gonna have to go O-line probably first 3 rounds as well. Yeah. You good there?
I think we covered it. We didn't mention Matthew Judon. I think it is a massive sign. I am worried about him getting outside of the Baltimore system in itself, but if there is a way that they could use him at a hybrid spot, New England, I think he could do well in New England.
I absolutely agree. Let's move over to the Buffalo Bills, and this is a little different. They didn't have a ton of additions, right? I mean, really, you only have Emanuel Sanders, Matt Hawk as the punter, the former Dolphins punter going in, and I wouldn't put punter up there, but that was really all we have as of right now. They move on from a John Brown, which we called, by the way, just saying.
Yes.
And they re-signed some of their talent. They re-signed a Darrell Williams, which I think like he could have gotten some money on the open market. I like Darrell Williams. He's a good tackle. Matt Milano they got to deal with. Andre Smith they got to deal with. They still need help at all the places they still need help at. And I want to go here with this. They need D-line help and they need wide receiver help bad.
They do because Emanuel Sanders is a good 3, I would say, but you really are looking for I thought they were going to make a splash. I honestly thought they were going to try to get and they still could, a Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, and really have 2 solid ones because I think Buffalo is that close to doing it to where if they ignore some of these holes that they have on defense, the D-line especially, they have to have a true, purebred pass rusher. Someone's got to help that team out. So if they don't go that direction, they haven't. I thought they were going to do it with the offensive side of the ball. I don't know. We'll still see. It's
going to be interesting. I mean, look, they've missed on some of their picks at D-line in recent years. They need help there. They definitely need help there. You talk about Emmanuel Sanders. Look, I get he's a big name. People, he's a good player. There's a reason he's been on 3 teams in 3 years. I mean, there is.
I think he's a good wideout.
He's fine. He's fine, but he's on his last leg, and how many games is he going to play this year? I don't know. I don't think he's a guy that I don't think he's an upgrade from a John Brown. John Brown, he's a number 2 receiver, number 3 receiver as well. John Brown isn't like a game breaker. I wouldn't say he has fast, but his contact balance is. I mean, he can get jumped off the line very easily or pushed off the line very easily. So they need a wide receiver too. Obviously they have Diggs, who's awesome, but they need a wide receiver too, bad, in my opinion.
I'm a little torn about the whole running back controversy going on in Buffalo, just because I really don't like the way that they use their running backs. I don't like how scripted some of their run plays were. I am led to think that if they were able to land a Travis Etienne or a Najee or a Javonte Williams, I think it's an instant upgrade at that position, but does the coaching staff really believe in Singletary-Moss combo going forward?
I think so. So this has been my take for a while, and I will stand by this. I don't think the Bills are ever going to be like a fantasy darling for running backs, right? So like the fantasy crowd out there is not going to like this running back room, and that's just going to be what it is. Yeah, for good reason. I mean, they're going to be used interchangeably a little bit. They're going to have that Patriots mindset of, you know, they don't care about the stats at the end of the day. You know, they just care about positive yards. And the other part of it is I do think their run game scheme, as you mentioned, I'll go a step farther and say I think it's bland. I think they need to add a lot more to it. I think that was a big issue for them at the end of the day. And also, I mean, the guard position we have under draft needs on the thing. I didn't put running back in there because I think it's more important to help out the O-line a little bit. Exactly. And I'm not saying their O-line is terrible, but they need help at the guard position to shore that up and help, especially in the run game. But at the end of the day, what are the Bills going to be doing the next couple of years? They're going to be utilizing Josh Allen's ability to throw the football. You know what I mean?
And his payday is coming.
Oh, it's coming. Yeah.
I think he's going to get up there.
He is. He definitely is. And you mentioned grabbing a wide receiver. I just want to point this out. If you're a Juju Smith-Schuster, if you're a Galladay, if you're a wide receiver on the market right now, and you feel like you deserve a payday, I mentioned the top two, but there's definitely other names out there, and you feel like you deserve a payday and the offers are not coming, go to the Bills for a year. Go sign a team-friendly deal. Bet on yourself with the Bills. The Bills will happily take you, and you will be in a perfect situation because I'm sorry, nobody on the open market is better than Diggs, right, in the NFL. Like, no, I'm sorry, Galladay's really good. He's not better than Diggs. Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm not super high on, but he's a fine number two, nowhere close to the level of a Stephon Diggs. Both those guys could go into the Bills. They would be the slam dunk wide receiver two on the team, in my opinion, and they would have a hell of a statistical year. I mean, they really would. That's the move. I think. I think that's the move.
Especially in a year where the market has seen so much turmoil, going down. Like you said, take your money where you can. Get for one of those Galladay, Juju, Marvin Jones-ish kind of guys, low tier ones. Take a $12 million deal. I know you're looking to really hit it off with Marvin Jones.
He went to the Jacks, but I got you.
The tier one guy. Instead of getting that $15, $16, $17 million, you might have to take a 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Hey, and that's okay. Especially like the cap is going to jump up next year. I bet it will. I bet you the cap jumps $20 million next year. It would not surprise me a bit if that's what happens. And it's going to be perfect for a team like the Bills that's going to have to pay Josh Allen. They can give Josh Allen just a huge payday and structure it out in a way where, like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. That's getting too far in the future. Anywhere else you want to go with the Bills? All right, and we are going to move on to the New York Jets, who have not made as many moves as I was expecting. Kind of an interesting situation with the Jets. They need help in a lot of places. They definitely have some additions. They have a Jared Davis, who I love. Jared Davis from the Lions was the 19th pick.
I say Gerard.
Is it Gerard?
I say Gerard. People are different. It's okay.
Okay.
I'm not going to bust your balls on that.
Yeah, no, okay. Gerard Davis. Gerard Davis. Sorry. We're going to keep that in. That's fine. Gerard Davis, linebacker from the Lions, has dealt with a ton of injury issues, but I think he's a great player. I loved him coming out of Miami. When he is on the field, he pops, but injuries have just destroyed his career so far. So signs kind of a team-friendly deal with the Jets, and I mean, we'll see what happens. I think that could be a big signing. That could be one of the signings that people look at as like, oh man, that was a big addition. Corey Davis coming from the Titans, getting a payday. I think Corey Davis was like tier 2 of the wide receiver class. I think I don't know. Was Corey Davis better than Juju in your opinion? Like
no, he's not.
They're different guys. They're different styles. Yeah,
I value Juju more than that. Corey Davis has a lot of potential going forward, but this past year with the Titans was really the first year that we actually saw it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of hit, and that's being the number 2 with the AJ Brown being at the 1.
Yeah.
Now the Jets, for me, getting a Carl Lawson, I think is really important to help at that defensive line. You have Quinnen Williams, who really came on strong last year. Carl Lawson doing good. You have a CJ Mosley returning. Marcus May is coming back too. Add that with Gerard Davis helping out that linebacker core. Listen, I like a lot of these moves. They still have the money to flirt around, though, and really land that one. Because they have Jameson Crowder at receiver 2. So Jameson Crowder, Corey Davis, let's see a Galladay.
Really? So you're saying go grab another one?
I want a Galladay, and I want Zach Wilson at number 2. And I really think that you could start to... Listen, Mekhi Becton is a hit at tackle.
Yeah, they
so
crushed it.
You have the tackle checked. You would have an up-and-coming defensive line. You have a solid linebacker core. You desperately need help at defensive back.
Yeah.
Primarily your cornerback position because Marcus May is a good safety. So, yes, there's still areas you can shore up, but there is some hope.
That is you talk about just a core of a team, and there's a reason it says dealer's choice under draft needs. There's a lot of help that they can use. But I mean, you talk about, a Corey Davis, a Jamison Crowder, and a Galladay at wide receiver with Zach Wilson, who I think is going to be an absolute stud coming in to throw the football. I mean, they're going to be a fun football team to watch, and that defense may not be complete, but you got some good pieces.
No, they really do. Listen, let's go back 6 months and look at the Jets' future and how just abysmal and sad it was. I think that they have done well with what they have. Robert Saleh is a guy who is known for building a locker room and chemistry too, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt with that and these moves in hoping that they gel together. So why not?
Yeah, look, I absolutely agree. I get it. I mean, is there anywhere else you want to go with that?
What do you want to see him do in the first round? Because we're gonna assume Zach Wilson, we both agree, should go number 2 for the Jets. They have 2 first-round picks. What should they do with the second one?
So I think defensive line would be the move, and look, that's a spot where I think you could get a Jalen Phillips, and that's the other Miami defensive. There's 3 Miami defensive ends that are probably gonna get drafted. You got Gregory Rousseau is the big name. You got Quincy Roche who played on the other side this year. But you go watch Miami's film from this year, number 15, where the same number as Gregory Rousseau. When I was going back and watching the film on these guys, that messed me up big time because I was like, man, am I watching the wrong guy with Gregory Rousseau? But no, Jalen Phillips, I think, is the better player. He was like the number 1 pick or the number 1 player out of high school, had a ton of injuries, had to retire from the game, came back and was just an absolute dominant threat. Injuries are going to be a concern. That's going to push him down the board, I think, a good bit. He might be a second-round pick. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about him, and I'm calling my shot, though. I think he deserves to be a first-round pick, and I could see the Jets targeting a guy like that. Maybe it is Rousseau because Rousseau has all of the physical tools. It's just putting it together. Like he's still, I think, a raw prospect, and I think that he could still be in that range as well. But man, I like defensive line. I would want to shore up the defense, especially if they grab another wide receiver in free agency. If not, there's going to be some wide receivers there as well that you could grab as well in that range.
Of course, I get that. I'm led to go with the cornerback position.
Okay.
And there is one guy that stands out in particular because I'm assuming Farley and Surtain would be gone by this time.
Yeah.
The next man up, and I think he's in the same caliber, but is not being brought up enough, is J.C. Horn. I think J.C. Horn is a fast, physical, lockdown corner that they could really use where they don't have a one that stepped up yet. I think he is worthy of a shot at that.
That's a good name, and that's probably even a more of a positional need. So I like that a whole lot. That's a really good point. Yeah, look, the Jets, I mean, they're going to have a bounce back year, man. It's going to be fun. I think the Jets they could win 7 games this year. They really could, and especially if Zach Wilson's as good as I think he's going to be. I think there's a lot of teams
that are making that next step, though. The NFL it's kind of hard to spot that really ugly team right now.
That churning, it always happens, man.
Who's the ugliest team? Just a 30-second
Lions are going to be picking number 1 overall, I think. Yeah,
there we go.
The Lions, or I could see it falling apart for the Bears, maybe. I mean, I could see that happening. But yeah, let's move on with the NFC East. The last team, my team, Miami Dolphins. I like what they've done. It's been a kind of a quiet, season, free agency season. Like, there are no big names. But you look, they get their backup quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. I do think this solidifies that they are probably out on Deshaun Watson. We mentioned at the top of the show with everything going on with Deshaun Watson, I don't think he's getting traded anyway. Yeah. So I think that's kind of over. I don't think there's nobody at 3, assuming Zach Wilson is gone at 2. There's nobody at 3 that is like, to me, an instant upgrade over a guy in Tua who is still developing. So you're probably going to run in another year with Tua. Jacoby Brissett is a very, very good, backup quarterback. He's not a starter, but he's a fine backup quarterback. I don't mind that. You look at Adam Butler, defensive tackle to replace Devon Goshaw, who went over to the Patriots. Good pick. Will Fuller at wide receiver, going to get a good 3 or 4 games out of him. That'll be nice. What was your reaction to this free agency class? I don't hate him. He's always
injured. Will Fuller was one of those guys that could be up there in that Corey Davis type of mentality. It is the off the field issues with the substance thing and just flat out being injured and not being ready to play. Yeah. But I think you're going to rock the Tua thing. I see no problem with that. I think you have a very promising core going forward. Yes, if you can land Deshaun, go get Deshaun. I'm not looking at the off the field stuff. I'm talking strictly on the field. Go get Deshaun because I think it could propel you to the next step a lot sooner than what you were planning on. But I think a lot of people, in what small sample size we saw Tua, we saw Herbert explode. We saw the magic with Burrow and just kind of how he was able to command a team. You know, he wasn't putting up monstrous numbers, but it was just what he was able to do on the field with what he had was promising. Tua was more of a sour taste in your mouth. You wanted to see more. You wanted to see the tight window throws, push the ball down the field, blah, blah, blah. I think we need to give him his due process, though.
Yeah, he deserves another year. He absolutely does.
I've seen people already throwing in the towel on him completely. Yeah. Justin Fields or Tua, you got to rock Tua.
Yeah. And look, I've been guilty of it, and I totally understand. I think I got into the hype a little bit of, oh, we're going to go get a quarterback. Oh, we're going to get Deshaun Watson. I fell into that mindset, and I think I've said some things on here that I would probably take back if I had the chance. But it is what it is. I've been negative towards Tua, but at the end of the day, look, he's a young guy. He has a ton of talent. We know that, and throwing in the towel on him right now, it's not fair to him. I mean, we all want this, every single quarterback to come in and be great week one, and it doesn't happen. It happened really, really fast with Joe Burrow and obviously Herbert. They looked great from day one, and I think the thing that puts a sour taste in my mouth, just as a Dolphins fan, is the fact that I don't see a way where Tua ever gets to be as good as either of those other quarterbacks. I just don't. I think Herbert has incredible, like he could be an all-time great. Like he has that type of potential as far as like after year one. I believe, I'm not saying he's going to be that. Don't hear what I'm not saying. He has that potential. Joe Burrow looked awesome until he got hurt, right? And then Tua, like I don't know. I think we can get a solid, good starting quarterback out of him.
We have seen the flash, and then some with the other two names mentioned. Tua, we are still waiting to be like, and that's the okay. I see where it's going. We'll going forward, I think you're in a promising direction.
Exactly. So that's a good point. Losses, the defense just in general. Look, obviously we traded a Shaq Lawson for a bit, Bernard McKinney. Excuse me, I struggle with that first name there. So we basically traded an inside linebacker for our offensive linebacker DN type of guy with Shaq Lawson, who plays with the hand in his dirt. And Shaq Lawson was actually played pretty well, and people are going to look at his stats and say he didn't. He played less than 50% of snaps, and he was just, it wasn't like he wasn't healthy. It was just we had a good rotation of DNs, and he was just a part of that rotation. We were paying him a little bit too much to just be a rotational guy. We got a lot of work out of some other dudes that are probably cheaper, so move on from him, get him McKinney. We just upgraded to a position that we had more need in, and I think that was a good move for the Dolphins. All we did was move back draft picks to swap those players too, so it worked out really good. Kyle Van Noy, we were just paying too much money for another guy who played well, but he was kind of a cap casualty.
When cap goes down, you got to make tough calls.
Exactly, and it worked out for the Patriots really well. I think at the end of the day, draft needs is where we got to look at this. Offensive line still a need, but I mean they played 3 starters last year, and they all showed promise. Like they all stood their own against some good NFL talent. So I'm not saying it was perfect, but it was good enough for me to think it's going to go in the right direction. I'm not even going to pick a position. I think center is a need, but guard is kind of a need. And if they wanted to, push one of our tackles inside and draft a different tackle, I wouldn't have a problem with that. If we get Penei Sewell at 3, and we push one of a home run hit. Yeah, be a home run hit, and we can push one of the tackles that we have in there. I'm blanking. I think Hunt would be the guy we would just move to guard. It'd be fine. Like it'd be totally fine. So I just said O-line in general. Wide receiver, we need help. I think in the first 2 rounds, we have 4 picks in the first 2 rounds. So grab a wide receiver with one of those picks. I personally hope we trade down. And as a Dolphins fan, I'm going to say this. I hope we trade down from 3 to either number 8 with with Carolina, who's going to want to trade up and get a quarterback, or I think the Bears are in need a quarterback mode. They can't go into the season with Dalton as your number 1. I can't imagine.
Yeah, they've said they have. We'll get to that.
I don't believe them, and I'd love to hear your take. I think the second they signed Dalton, they admitted to the NFL world they have to go trade up, and I'll bet they're calling the Dolphins, seeing how much is it going to cost. 3 firsts, run it.
3 firsts, that is a monumental price. Listen, yes, if you get offered that deal, you take that in a heartbeat. I think your first pick is going to be an offensive position. I think Penei Sewell. I'm looking at a Jamar Chase. I would look, like you said, to trade down with the Panthers at 8. Perhaps someone else in the 7 to 10 range is where I think you can still land because it doesn't matter to me. Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase. I think they're all wide receiver ones. I like some more than others. I'm not going to sit here and say that. But at the number 3 spot, that is such a rare wide receiver hit.
Yeah.
It better hit, and I don't think you were hurting desperately enough to have to do that at number 3 versus dropping down a little bit. Maybe you don't get your favorite in Jamar Chase for me personally.
Yeah.
Maybe I settle and get a Jalen Waddle. Totally okay with that, and I bring some other assets to the table.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
For me, it's Chase and Waddle at 1 and 2, with Chase at a good bit ahead of Waddle, and then Smith is certainly my third wide receiver in the board, but I do think there's a drop off a little bit.
And you could do the same thing with the tackle at Penei Sewell.
Yeah.
Penei Sewell for me is leaps and bounds above everyone else, but when you ask a lot of analysts, Slater.
Northwestern
Rashawn
tackle,
Slater is really close, they say.
He shut down Jamar Chase. Or not Jamar Chase, Chase Young. You got the Chases.
Yeah,
he shut him down.
If there's a way that you're able to trade down and still pick up one of those two guys, they're saying that both of them have that star power on them. Go for it.
Yeah. Hey, and then
after that, I would say bolster up your linebacker core a lot.
Yeah, and that's why I said, and I know 3 first sounds crazy. That's why I said 3 first to get to 3 from 15, because the drop off from 8 to 15, which I do think both of those offers are going to be on the table. I think the Dolphins could make both of those trades if they wanted to, because one of those teams is going to want to move up to get a quarterback. Yes. But if you move down to 8, we can still get. We have an opportunity to get one of those 4 guys that we mentioned, right? I'm not saying all of them are going to be there, but one of them will definitely be there, right? You drop down to 15, you're not getting any of those guys. Yeah, you gotta pay for that. I mean, that's a big cost. So I'm saying it would cost another first round pick for me to give up on one of those 4 guys. Or all of those 4 guys.
I get that.
You see what I'm saying? So
especially when you look at some of the defensive talent and upper echelon offense, and it drops.
And I look at the Bears as a team that are in we want to save our jobs mode, and I think they would be willing to make a bad analytical move. Like, I wouldn't agree to move 3 first for anybody that's getting drafted 3rd in this draft class.
I get that.
If you could get number 2, yeah, go get Zach Wilson. I think he's worth it. But anybody at 3, you're making a big swing. You better hope it hits. I mean, shit. But it probably saves your job for another year, and that's probably why they would do it, I would think. So yeah, that's my take. You want anything else on this?
Wrap it up.
All right, that is our AFC East. If you are watching just this video, please check out the rest of the podcast. We broke down every single division. If you're on the podcast, we are moving right along to the AFC South.